Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, keep scrolling and you'll find that little box to subscribe. So today I wanted to talk about something that has been on my heart kind of for a while and I just really am passionate about, and that's the right to your information. Your birth information, your information of all that you've obtained so far, and all that you are still discovering. So I'm just going to dive in. So like you guys know, and if you're just joining, here's a little recap. My brother and I were adopted from Ukraine, and we were adopted through I think it was probably a private agency, and him and I were the first kiddos that were adopted through that. So that was kind of cool because probably hundreds of kids were adopted after us, after their first successful adoption. I remember every summer we would have like a pool party getting together as an agency and all the kiddos that were adopted through it, and the leader of the adoption agency would always she would kind of show us off, my brother and I, and just said like, hey, here's where it started, here's where the agency really kicked off and just blossomed from that. So that's kind of cool. So after my mom and I had gone through all the files and documents that we had, looking for the paperwork we needed, she was the first person that I went to. Immediately I messaged her and was just like, hey, so these are the documents that we're missing, and these are the ones that are crucial and that we need. Do you guys have backup copies, or do you guys hold them somewhere? Or do you know what could happen or where they would be? Different kinds of things. Did we even receive them? And she said that the orphanage, or the agency, wasn't doing adoptions anymore, which I had known because all the chaos with Russia and Ukraine just a few years back kind of put it in just bad standing, which I knew. But she said that they had sent all of the files to LSS, which is Lutheran Social Services, and that maybe if I went through them, I could get my paperwork. And so I immediately called them and just like kind of figured out what the process even would be. And it was probably, so I hate phone calls. Actually, I really like phone calls when it's like a dear friend, but I hate those, like awkward conversations where you're just like, hi, my name is Lilia. So I did it. I was brave. I made that awkward conversation and it was just like, hey, so this is what I'm looking for. I have no idea how any of this works. This is my first time. Can you steer me in the right direction? Am I even calling the right person? And I was. And I was clarified as a post-adoption service, somebody seeking post-adoption services. And it's interesting because you have to be over 19. It doesn't matter if you're 18, you still don't have a right. You have to wait till you're 19. And I was like, well, check, got that. So that same day, I went in and just met with somebody because my mom always told us, like, when you don't get results over the phone or through an email, like, just go in. And they were a little thrown off. They're like, we can try and see if somebody will meet with you. And I was like, that would be great. And I remember it was like the first day that we had a lot of snow. And I was like, great, I gotta drive home in this. Should I even stay? I should get ahead of the snow. And I stayed and it was great. And it was probably a better decision to stay. So I met with this really sweet woman. They found somebody who was just willing to talk. And I had no idea what I even should have brought, different kinds of things like that. And we just sat down and talked, and she was just, okay, so like this is the process, this is what it would be. And she said, here are the fees, and that it would be $60 to request a case manager to your case. And then that person would do a file review. So that is essentially like her going through and looking at all the files that you have. And then she is the one that determines what files you can see and what files that you don't have rights to. So right away I was like, so how does she determine what the person who was adopted, has a right to see and not see? And she's like, well, sometimes it's just, it just works differently and it's individual. So not really a clear answer. And I was like, but this is my file. Like, these are the only specific pieces of information we are looking for. Everything else I have, everything else I don't care about. Will these ones be the ones that she says, hey, you can't see? And she was like, we have no guarantee. I was like, okay, great. And then we were going through the prices and everything, and it was just so defeating because I knew everything had a price. Just this day and age, every person is out for money, whether good or bad. I mean, I was just so frustrated that it cost $60 for somebody to look at my file. Like, what? And better yet, it was going to take 6 to 8 weeks for me to even be assigned to somebody. And so that was kind of a frustrating situation. I left really frustrated that I don't really have a say in what files I get to see and what I don't, and that somebody gets to make that decision without even knowing who I am on my behalf of what files I get to see and what kinds I don't. That doesn't sit well with me. As someone who is adopted, I would feel that I had the right to all information that I could possibly obtain. Whether or not this information is harmful, maybe not harmful, but not what I expected, or depressing, whatever it is, those emotions can be dealt with in the correct way, but the first step is to let me see the information, you know? And I mean, we were literally looking for the original birth certificate that had my birth mother and father's name on it, and then I think 2 or 3 other documents. Like, everything else they could have said, hey, we don't want to give you this. I would have been fine. But just knowing that, like, I would have paid the $60, which I ended up doing and just saying, like, here's my money, help me. And they still had the right to say, hey, we're not actually going to give you this. We don't really even have to give you a reason. We're just going to say that this isn't suitable for you. That's ridiculous to me. And this lady I was speaking to, she was like, well, have you ever considered the mother's point of view? And we entered into that conversation, and it kind of took me off guard because she is specifically an advocate for the adoptees, the post-adoption services. And I mean, I was willing to go with that. So I was like, yeah, actually I have, I've thought about, hey, what was going on in her life that she needed to. I mean, I think we all wrestle with that of, like, the behalf of, like, why would we be giving up, different kinds of things like that, and what's going on. And she was like, well, have you thought of it more? And I was like, I don't know where you're going with this. And she just started listing off. She's like, here's the mother's perspective. Like, you can't really go into this without understanding the mother's perspective. Here are books on, like, why birth moms give their kids up, why we have to be sensitive to them. It's not about us. And it was just like, okay, like, and I don't know, the conversation itself wasn't, I don't know, I didn't go into that for that conversation, and the tone it was said in, and all of these things just was like, gosh, I don't know. So I took the books into consideration, and it was something that, like, thank you for opening my eyes to this. Like, I wonder what was going on in her world. I wonder what the social norms of, like, adoption even are in that day and age, and how it's different now and different things. So it gave me, like, ideas to think and ponder and research about, but, like, it was just not a comforting conversation to even just, like, enter into. So that was just another thing where I was like, gosh, I'm just so, and I ended up, after the fact, I left, and it was fine, got home safely, didn't die from the snow. But I ended up pulling and just emailing the lady and just said, hey, can you pull my money back? I think I'm going to withdraw my application for post-adoption services, at least until I come back again, or just for now. She was like, okay, I hope you have, like, a good search. Because it was, like, 6 to 8 weeks and just all the experiences that I had. And through all of that, like, the thing that I got out of it was how incredibly wrong it is that, like, we don't get a right to our files. Like, that somebody else has a say, has an end vote in what things they deem acceptable for us to be seeing. That doesn't feel right. Like I said before, like, it just feels so wrong. Like, I don't know, like, when you're not adopted, it's like, it's just a human right that you get to know who you are. We all have a birth certificate, a social security, like, all these things for a reason. They're not withheld from us. And for them to be saying, hey, this is something you may not be able to see, you may be able to see, but we can't say for sure, was like, so do I give you my money in hopes that you say that I see it, or in, you know, just like gambling? Like, this isn't something I want to play with. And it's just frustrating to think that. Like, it's just so, I've never heard that before. I've never, yeah, I don't know. And I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if every agency does that. And as far as I know, they're the only agency, or like, they're the only place that has our files. And even in that, they said that, like, they don't hold the files on site. They have a warehouse. And I was like, what? Which I can see, like, if there's somebody who has regrets of, like, giving up their child and something were to happen and they wanted to go to the office and, like, obtain their files in some horrific, violent way, it would be unsafe that they're there. I get that. But, like, I don't know. That was just a very unpleasant experience. And again, I said that I did it, like, probably 2 or 3 months ago, and I've still wrestled with how do they get to determine what I get to see and what I don't. So, I don't know. Have any of you had that experience? I don't even know how many of you guys are adopted who are watching, but I don't know. So, like, when I adopt, which I'm going to, I am going to be so adamant about making sure every single piece is correctly given to us. There's many, many, many photocopies given, or made, and then given to multiple people for safekeeping, and so that there's just no possibility. And so that when my child reaches the age where he or she may or may not want to know their identity, or just their family, or who they are, who their parents were, that they have that option, that they have that capability, that they have it, because it stinks. It just stinks. There's just no easy way about it. It just stinks. And it's hard because it's that close. I don't think I shared this in the last video. I think maybe I did. But the piece that we're looking for is the birth certificate, because the last name, so my birth mother's name and then my father's name will be on that. So those are the pieces that could really help and take this search completely off the charts and just really successful. Whether or not she agrees to come and meet me, or me come and meet her, or just even have a conversation, apart from that, those pieces of information would really make a difference. So that's what we're seeking, and that's what we are currently facing in the roadblock. And this roadblock has been a roadblock for probably 2 months. And I've gotten a lot of questions of, hey, are you even doing the search? What's even happening? And it's just so frustrating to, not even frustrating, but just defeating, because there hasn't been any progress at all. But like I said in my last video, like, I'm not giving up. I just don't know what my next steps are, you know? Like, I feel that I am talking to the right people. I feel that I'm reaching out. I feel like God is taking this video and these messages to the people it needs to reach. But I'm not sure where to go from here. I know that I need to keep using my voice. Maybe it is that I go and pay that $60 and say, hey, let's just see what you guys are able to give. And maybe, like, fight them on it when they say, like, hey, this you can't have. Or maybe it's, I don't know. So I just wanted to share just a little piece of an experience that I had through this adoption. So yeah, I haven't been on here much, and I'm sorry for that. It's really hard to come up with ideas for videos when I feel in a rut in my search. So if you guys have specific ideas or topics you guys want me to cover, let me know, because I'm more than happy to expand, even if it's just knowledge about different types of adoption or pieces of my story or anything like that. Let me know, because I'm so open to it. So yeah, I'm signing off. As always, subscribe, check out my website, all of these great things. Yeah, hope you guys have an awesome week. Bye.